there's emptiness in like all the money and the stuff. If that's the purpose of like why you're doing something is to get money, then you're never going to be satisfied, because then you can always get more. Yeah. Right? Or you can always get the next cool car or stuff, right? If stuff is the goal, then like it's not going to serve your soul.
The moment that you make money first in your life, that's the moment that you start losing. You know, there's so many other things that comes first.
Welcome to the Full Fuel Podcast with your host, Dr. Alfred Alessi.
And Matt Tack.
Man, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing today. What's going on,
It's good to see you, bro. We got a good one today, man. Good friend of ours on the show, Eddie Gomez Del Casal. Eddie's a high-performance coach. He's an ex-professional basketball player with a really cool story, man. I'm really looking forward to sharing some conversation with you, brother.
Let's do it.
We had a really cool meeting with this guy on the Tampa River Walk where we just kind of ran into you. We were doing some filming, recording down there, and just kind of started conversating and noticed how much we had aligned and in common, and just were like, man, we got to get on the show with this guy. So how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Ready, to talk to you guys.
Heck yeah. You're an author too.
Correct.
So you have a book. The book is called Live Relentless. That's kind of your motto or your brand, right?
Yeah, that's the motto, the brand, the movement, the coaching. Everything goes under the umbrella of Live Relentless.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Give our audience a little bit of background, kind of how you, from a kid, came to be where you are today. I know there was some struggles, some tough things that happened in your life, man. So as much as you want to share, as much as you're comfortable with, but just give us some background on Eddie.
I'll be open, because actually I realized that stories help people, and that's my mission. Just picture, this 19-year-old kid, starts to do good in basketball in Spain, out of the blue gets an offer to come to America, no idea of English, starts to, like you guys say, live the American dream. So I come here, now I have to take classes in English, I have to learn the language, and I have to play basketball at a high level. Everything went great, college went great, and the last semester of my college, which is about to when the pandemic is starting, it was actually December 2020, so it was a little bit already into it. I got injured with a spine injury, L1 to L5. We talked about it. Right. My 10-year-old cousin passed away on a car crash. The doctor tells me that, hey, you're not gonna be able to play really high performance ever again. These are the limitations that you're gonna have. The girl, which it was my wife at that time, we separated, let's say that, that's the nice way to say it. And, I lost completely myself, all that happened within 2 weeks, okay?
Oh, wow.
Something that I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all, and I tried to commit suicide. That was the first time. As soon as I'm trying, I call my parents. I'm like, I don't know what I have done. I'm sorry. Get me out of here. I need help. So I get a flight to go to Spain. It was a headache. It was in the middle of the pandemic. You need a COVID test within 24 hours to travel, to fly to Spain. I also wanted to make it to the funeral for my cousin. Well, I need to call embassies because where I was, it was actually a 30-hour, flight with layovers and everything. So I'm not going to make it.
Jeez. I
risk it. I'm like, okay, if they stop me, they stop me, I get home, I made it to the funeral, I was able to be with family. What happens is that everybody, I'm their shoulder, they try to lean on me, Eddie just came after a year and a half being away. I want to hang out, yes, they hang out with me, but they tell me all what is going on around their life.
Just trauma dumped all over you, man.
Happy, but they don't understand, and nobody knew that I was getting more low. I wasn't opening up about what was going on in my life. I seek psychologists, professional help. I'm starting to feel better. And I tell my parents, I'm going to go back to America. I'm going to try to get my marriage back. She is the girl of my life. I love her. I want to be with her. I come back. Man, the only thing that I got was humiliation. I thought I was going to get something. It wasn't possible. Yeah. And that's in April 5th, 2021. My best friend was like, hey, man, I'm in Florida in Tampa. Why don't you come for a little bit, spend a month, and then just do your life. I think you need a better headspace right now. So I packed 5 suitcases, come to Tampa area. I started living life. I actually like it, but I chose the wrong life. I started to go out to try to cope with the pain of my career didn't succeed, my marriage didn't succeed, my family is broken. I can only lean on them anymore right now, like they're still recovering. And I'm trying to find new paths. So alcohol and parties is what, my dopamine, let's say that way. And soon I realized that it's not the way, soon because I put weight, I hit mental issues that I'm getting myself into more depressed scenarios. Like I have to stop this. When I thought that I was moving into a healthy environment, it happens to be that when I was renting a house, the lady, that room wasn't for me. So literally for 8 months, I had to live on a garage. Literally. Like have you ever watched Harry Potter?
Yeah. You were in the broom closet, bro.
Yeah.
Man.
Harry Potter room.
That was your low, huh?
That was the lowest of my life.
Rock bottom, yeah.
Waking up every morning with cars, turn on the smoke on it. And
Jeez.
One day I'm about to call my parents. I call my dad. Be like, "Hey, Dad." I start to remind them things that I really like, love them, thank them, because I was about to commit suicide again.
Yeah.
And it's time for me to talk to my mom. And all of a sudden, my brother calls her. And he's like, my dad is like, 1 second, your mom is coming back, My mom all of a sudden yells, "Hey, what's going on? Is everything well at home?" My mom comes back. She's like, "Hey, you're going to be an uncle." I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean? Like, this is not, it wasn't on the plans. It was like, this is a miracle, like right now." Two things happen on my head. If my brother made it, why can't I make it? And how am I going to make the happiest day of my family's life with this amazing kid?
Yeah.
The saddest, So I stood up and I decided to create a new life. What I wanted to do is help people become the better self. I wanted to be the person that I am where they need somebody in life and nobody's around, So I created Relentless Coaching, which that's how I started. Like I told you, 50 people, on me, wanted to help people around. And I started to build, a network and everything around. Fast forward 3 years now, I have a coaching, like you said, high performance. I work with athletes and CEOs. I'm an author. I speak as much as I can. Where there is a soul to be lifted, as I want to be there. Because I know that my trials and tribulations, I can lift people up, and just connect with people, help, collaborate. I always said, people at the top collaborate, people at the bottom compete, and that's super important. Like collaborate.
Like that.
So
yeah,
that's the story.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. That's and I think that's probably why all of our like we vibe so well together is because I've been down, man, and when you use your story to elevate other people, because everyone's going through something, right? Like everyone's been through something. You've got your story of being low as well, Matt, and being open about it. Then people are like, damn, I'm not the only one, right? So I'm sure when you were in that moment, you're like, that nobody's ever felt like this. This is my thing, right?
Why is it happening to me?
Yeah,
but you realize that every man is gonna go through a rock bottom, and it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, it was crazy, man.
That's good. Saying it's okay to not be okay, because it's one of those things where it doesn't matter what mountain top you're on, right? I was explaining this when I was even writing yesterday. I was looking at our logo and the nutritious logo in terms of where the mountains go, right? And when you're going up a mountain, you're meeting with things with resistance. That's where trials and you're getting impacted. There's punches. There's going to be swings along the way. Well, Mike Tyson says, are you planning for the? Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. You're going to get knocked down, but then how do you learn from that, get back up to reach that next mountaintop? And then the elevations, I was thinking about this too, of when you're reaching new mountains and you're going along the way, like you said yourself, you hit highs in your athletic career, right?
Yes.
You're like, dang man, I did really well. But then you got punched in the face and you came back down a little bit, right? And you're like, shoot, how do I handle that, right? And then what is that gap that creates? Where am I going to protect my mind to go to the next? And there was one key thing in your story that I think everyone needs to grab onto is that when you're at that state within that valley, like every time I look at the Nutritious logo, there's going to be a valley in your story, regardless, right? At any given time, there's going to be a death in the family. There's going to be something that comes along the way, and the best thing you can do is help somebody else, right? Like help somebody else, lift them up along the way. Because like when you're in that state, it's like your only ability is to really help somebody else. And when you elevate that, you elevate yourself, you elevate your mindset. And but when you're in the season of, which I've been there, of like, no, I'm going to drink some alcohol, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be more inward focused, that's when the valley becomes longer, right? And it's all about like, do we want to extend out the valley, or do we want to like look at the next mountain to climb? And even though we know it comes with a level of resistance, it also comes with a level of growth at the same 100%. Time. So
I don't think you can grow without resistance. Muscles
Yeah.
don't grow without resistance. Go do a million crunches. Those abs are not going to grow that much, right?
Yeah.
But if you put some weight on that and you do like decline crunches with weight, you're going to grow abs, right? And like build that muscle. Same with any muscle in the body, it needs resistance
for sure.
And like your spirit's a muscle, right? You can train it the same way. We talk about that all the time. That's a great point, man.
Let's tap into a little bit of basketball. We're both big basketball guys. We love basketball.
I love it.
See, but like, I was going to ask him to come play with us, and then I was like, "Oof, do I want to?" Because I think I'm kind of good, and then like someone like him shows up, I'm like, "Ooh."
So there's gonna be a difference, obviously, playing in Spain, coming over to the U.S. Even the courts are a little bit different. The 3-point line's a little bit different. I think the lanes are a little bit more narrow. Are they?
Yes. Yeah. So some courts they have changes, some courts they haven't. There's different regulations. I mean, playing in Europe is completely different than playing in America. Here I think sometimes it's more like high speed, more individual. Back home it's more like tempo, control, team based. Like we move the ball and team, the defense gets tired, and then we score. Like that's what it is. I remember that in high school, we will run the clock down every single time.
Wow.
And here, when I came to the US, I remember myself like running back and down. Like I'll bound the ball, real quick, and pass it, and waiting to receive it, and it will be already on the other basket. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So it was a big transition, man.
Comparatively, I think I'm a big John Wooden fan. You ever heard of John Wooden?
Yeah,
John Wooden's the man. And I think he played more of a European style of basketball as they prepared for games. Endurance was a huge thing with them.
Off-ball movement, right? Just a ton of off-ball balls moving around.
All the time. And I think that's what I see. Like when I obviously. The Olympics is probably the only time I watch professional basketball.
I mean, that's why he's the most winning coach, right? I think 11 titles, 13?
13. I think 13 national. I said 11 actually in a prior podcast, but my dad corrected me. I'm pretty sure it's 13.
13.
But the style of ball is like so completely different. Yeah. And I like that level of like team-oriented basketball. The Golden State Warriors, like a couple years back, like when they went on a stretch, I think they won 2 or 3. But they were a team that you could see that passed the ball and they wore down the clock. That 24-second shot clock was always at between 3 and 5 before that shot was fired.
I saw something. It was Steph Curry. If you watch him play, he never stops running, and he's running. He's not like jogging a little bit and walking a little bit. He's running. So he just wears people out. Like they did like one of those things where they tracked his steps per game. And it was like insane. It was like 3 times out of the next closest. He's just always moving, catching screens, running in circles, dude. And so like the guy covering him was probably like, damn, I don't want to have to cover this guy tonight. Like this is going to be a job. And then he's just getting open,
Another, in 2004, like the Detroit Pistons had Rip Hamilton, if you remember him. Hamilton and Chauncey Billups. But they were like game management, tempo management type NBA basketball team. That was like, it was never a guy held the ball, dribbled it for 10 to 15 seconds, found his shot, and then put it up.
Different styles. I like team more. I truly think it's way better. And the thing about basketball, any sport, we can translate it into life. When you have a team and you work together, you will go farther than just by yourself. And I think that a lot of the current basketball that we're watching is also a misunderstanding because we see big stars like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. You know, like, I mean, those are my two favorites. You know, on the highlights,
say LeBron. Interesting.
LeBron is great. You know, but, on the highlights, it looks like it was them. You know, which they had a huge impact, but they would not be where they are in the Hall of Fame right now without a team. You know, and that's what people have to see, that other players play a huge role, you know, into the basketball, into the team. You know, so that's how I see it. That's why, like, team.
Yeah. Again, like Curry wouldn't be getting as open for 3-pointers if he wasn't catching screens. Someone's got to lay those screens. You know what I mean? Team's got to move the ball and stuff. So
someone has to do the dirty work as well.
That's right.
Green, now. You know, like he does so much for the whole team, and maybe people doesn't see it. Maybe he doesn't have as big as stats, but you know, like he's there. You know,
there's always that one guy who's just like the hustler. Like that's like the one dude you want on the team, right? The guy who's gonna he's gonna like dive on a ball. He's gonna lay himself out a little bit. Take a charge, right? Do the dirty work so that the other guys can get the glory.
I love that, to be honest. You know,
I love that too. I think I was watching something even on Dennis Rodman and how Dennis Rodman, he would like he didn't need to touch the basketball because he knew he was going to touch the basketball on a rebound. And one thing that he would do like before the games is he's like, I know I'm not going to shoot all that much, so he's like, I'm going to take a couple shots for warm up, but I'm going to look at how Michael Jordan, where he's going to shoot it from. And John Wooden did this too, so everyone had their locations on the court as far as their highest percentage of probability to make a shot. So like Bill Walton could only shoot 12 feet it in on, you know, the left side because his left side was his best side. But like he would look at, even when he played with Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, he would look at how many times their ball rotated on their shots, and he would predict based on how many times the ball rotated
the board
where the ball would bounce off the board.
That's cool.
Awesome. And so he knew then to take his angle. He knew the geometry. And you look at Dennis Rodman, you're like, dude, this guy's like not that smart, right? He's very smart. Because what he would do then is based on geometry of where that ball would bounce off, he would be in the location of where the highest probability the ball would be.
Position.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even the tallest guy. He was like 6', I think he was 6'8", 6'7", maybe. But he knew where the ball, he was always in that placement. I was like, dude,
that's sick.
That is like team basketball.
Yeah.
Positioning, man.
Positioning. It's all about positioning.
Yeah.
That's cool. But even probably your boy, I think he's a Spaniard, Pau Gasol.
Pau Gasol,
Yeah, he was a Spaniard.
Really good. I mean, really, I love Pau Gasol.
He's great, yeah. Part of the reason Kobe was winning, dude.
Massive reason. They were they were really, really good friends.
Yeah.
The real Splash Brothers, do you guys think?
Splash Brothers?
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant and
Gasol. That's for sure. Clay, I mean, it's next level how I think the Golden State Warriors have changed a little bit in terms of like their overall dynamic as far as the team. But like when they were at their like absolute peak and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry were shooting the way they were shooting
the ball,
but that was with Andrew Bynum, I think, was that with them when they were winning. No, was that their center?
Andre Iguodala was there.
Andre Iguodala, which again, he's another guy that was. But it was more. Point is, I think it was more like I felt like it was that more European basketball time where they like chose. Yeah. They knew kind of like when to sprint, when to hold, when to back off on the clock. You know your role, for sure, and that's what I see in European basketball for sure. I just love watching.
Even in the Olympics, if you realize, sometimes individual teams they struggle so much because it's not such a high pace, and if the other team controls the tempo more, you know, possession based, they actually have more issues. You know, like. Scoring because they are more tired from playing defense, so they have less stamina, less, you know, resistance on the offensive part, you know. So that's why the Olympics also is. I mean, I love it. Like, you know, when Spain plays in United States, you know, that's my game right there.
It's a little chippy too, right? Like they're very competitive. Like,
and I love it, you know.
If you want to hear your question answered live on the show, submit it to ask@fullfuel.com. Check out the Optimizers program where we build max muscle, improve longevity, and get guys freaking shredded so that they can crush it at life for as long as possible.
Live full fueled. Live beyond limits, baby.
I think a lot of people always ask me, like, you love NBA? Yeah, I love it. You know, what's your favorite team? And I got to a point where, yes, I grew up with favorite players. I think that right now what I'm seeking is competition. I love and I appreciate hard work. I love and I appreciate competition. Like, you know, like that's what I like to see right now. You know, if it's not a competitive game, I don't know what team is playing. I don't care. You know, like I'm gonna turn it off.
Yeah,
for sure. Based on your point on tempo and then creating the tempo, that's what happened the other night in the national championship game when Purdue was just trying to go inside. Like they literally went into he was I think the 2-year national player of the year, Edie, but they had, I mean, that was the only thing they did, and they never opened up. They never opened up the 3-point line at all. But UConn did a really good job at maintaining the tempo of the game. But the one difference there with UConn is they were nonstop. Like it was nonstop up and down the floor.
I think I like more the rhythm of UConn. Like as soon as the first half happened, I knew the game was over. You know, like I mean, like if you think also about this, I truly. By the way, both national games, I think that they were like low performance. I thought it could have been more level, but I think that UConn won because more people on their team were, you know, like playing as a team. Purdue was more like, let's give it to 2 players. You know, that's what it happened. I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Well, because Purdue they have some quality. They have some quality 3-point shooters. Like their guard, I forget his name, but like Braden something. He's a phenomenal guard, like great court manager, but he also can shoot. He never looked at the opportunity to shoot early on in the game. So when it came at the end of the game, they were just trying to force. They never controlled the tempo. Whereas UConn was running a lot of backdoors. I honestly, this is one thing I thought, easy to be like kind of a fan just looking in at these games. But like if I was Purdue, there were so many easy buckets that they got early in the game, like just layups or dunks, that I was like, man, wouldn't you go to like a 2-3? Like you would just go more of a zone at that point, try to get back and try to get him in a zone scenario, because they were tight at halftime, so it was like only a 6-point lead. But like I'm like, man, wouldn't you go to a zone just to try to like not get the easy buckets, make him But then the second half, UConn came out and was hitting 3, so it was a like an interesting game to watch.
We gotta wait,
because you're saying exactly. UConn was the team overall, versus Purdue that wanted to isolate it with 1 or 2 players.
Yeah, that's it. And they stopped the 2 players. He was done. Yeah,
they're like, let Edie get his buckets, and then we'll shut everyone else down.
That's what it's all about.
It was a good game plan. I love the enthusiasm of Hurley too. Man, that guy. It was fun to watch. The coach, he literally touched one of the players. He was at half court during the game. He hops onto the court and pushes one of his players, like, pass the ball to him.
You're allowed to do that?
No, he got called. Yeah, he got called for. I think he got called for attack or something like that. He was like, dude, he touched the players. It was hilarious.
Delay of game or something.
Yeah,
dude, funny. You said zone defense. Like I was playing pickup the other day. And these dudes just start playing zone.
I don't know about that. If you're playing pickup.
Well, I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, you got to be coordinated to do this. There's 5 dudes that probably never met each other. They all just start playing a zone. I'm like, this isn't going to end well for y'all. We ended up beating them too, but I was just you don't see that very often in pickup ball.
In pickup ball, yeah. That's hilarious. Awesome. Tell us a little bit more about your book. So, Live Relentless. I know it was a journey over 6 months. You went around the U.S. And really, the guide there is the ultimate guide. For you to become the better you.
Yeah.
And that was a transition, obviously, from your story. And thank you for sharing all that, because I mean, that means a lot. And so your story then, and then what you chose to do over that 6 months.
Yeah.
Take us through maybe some of the cities that you were in, and then why you even chose to write the book after.
Yeah, of course. So basically, I recovered from everything. With the depression that I suffered was 8 months. Okay, I ended up in December 2021, January of 2022. I was good, you know. And then 2022 was a great year. And beginning of 2023, doctor, you know, I go to the doctor because I wasn't feeling well on my gut, you know. He's like, Eddie, you need to come in right now. You actually need an emergency surgery. There is a herniated, a hernia coming out of your gut, you know. It's a carcinoid one. It could cause a blood clot. Come right now. I go to the doctor. I get the surgery done. He tells me it's okay, it's only going to be 6 weeks recovery. Well, it was 6 weeks, actually, ended up being like 15 to 18 weeks, you know.
Oh, man.
I'm sure that many people can relate with me, even you guys. When you take away exercise from a very active guy, you are taking the life away, literally. Like that's what happened to me again. I was like, what am I doing? Like I lost so much muscle. I actually went to 180 pounds, which is the skinniest I've been since I came to the US, which in the US I came as 179. Like it was crazy. Anyway, I don't like how the year is going, and in July I'm like, I'm out. After 4th of July, I'm like, I don't like how the year is going. I still have time. Let's change it. So I packed my whole car with, like supplies, like to survive on the wild, on the cities, everywhere. And I make this map that I'm gonna be for 2 months, traveling national parks, traveling cities, connecting with people, with clients, connecting with God, building myself back again. Also about building myself back, I took an air fryer and a rice cooker with me. I connected gas stations, motels, friends' houses. I will not go houses. Can I cook my rice real quick? Like I'm traveling the whole US. I just need it for the road. Boom. And I will have my intakes every single day. Like
that's awesome.
That's how I did it. So in Oklahoma, it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I saw this praying hands, which is a beautiful monument. And something came to me. I was like, I think I'm called for a bigger purpose. Like I need to put all the trials and tribulations and all the lessons learned into a blueprint to help people. So I started to think, I go to more states. I went to Utah, I went to Nevada, and in San Diego, actually in the Mojave Desert from Nevada to San Diego, I'm like, I know what I'm gonna do. So I started writing stuff, and I just put a book, 10 chapters. It's called The Journey to Greatness, because every chapter takes you to a new level of greatness in life. So it's not only a book, there's also exercises for you to do to apply to your daily life. Boom. And
that's cool.
At first I was like, I'm just gonna do it, so I give it to my clients. And then I realized that people start buying it. I became bestseller in January when it came out, and then I went to this conference and I brought five boxes with me, and I sold out within 20 minutes. I was like, this is actually cool, So I was like, why don't I actually promote it like an author, promote it like, just not for the clients. So that's what I did. How did I do it? Anywhere. Mojave Desert, on the beautiful beaches of California, Oregon, on top of a Mount Glacier with animals around, anywhere, Chicago, Times Square, and I would just write, like, boom, boom, boom. Now you ask me how, and yes, I remember what I wrote. The inspiration, man, it was just there. Like, I'm like, I have a book, I don't know. So that's what it is. Right now I'm working on translating to Spanish as well, because I want to have it in both languages.
Cool. And
the audiobook, which is something a little bit challenging, but it's coming together. And that's what it was, man. A transformational journey in my whole, professional, personal life, because professionally I was able to meet the connections, which the ones that I'm working with right now as well. And everything, it's something that I recommend everybody to do, and I think that everybody should do it from high school to college or after college. Boom, travel, and find out your life, So there's a good book that is called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I don't know if you guys ever
heard of it.
Yeah. Such a good book.
Cool.
I 100% recommend it, and that's exactly what it happens. A very successful lawyer, he gets burned out. He goes to live life like a monk. They teach him the essentials of life, and he comes back to civilization, looking better, feeling better. He looks younger, and he's more successful than ever.
Yeah.
So that's how I truly feel.
There's so many stories like that. You hear of like real successful people who are like, dude, I'm just done. There's emptiness in like all the money and the stuff. If that's the purpose of like why you're doing something is to get money, then you're never going to be satisfied, because then you can always get more. Yeah. Right, or you can always get the next cool car or stuff, right? If stuff is the goal, then like it's not going to serve your soul.
The moment that you make money first in your life, that's the moment that you start losing. There's so many other things that comes first. First of all, you have to take care of you. Second, for faith-based people, God, and that goes in hand. First you and God, yes, you have to praise to God, but also you have to make sure to be good to do everything. You know, I truly believe that everybody is born with gifts. You know, I have gifts, you have gifts, you have gifts. Everybody's different, and you will not be able to use them unless you are 100%. So one of my gifts is energetic, positive. You know, like actually helping people. When I feel bad, when I feel at my lowest, I was energetic, I wasn't positive, I wasn't helping people. So how am I using my gift? You know, so that's why you have to take care. And I've seen so many people that they are making so much money, and the people that I work with, you know, like some people comes to work with me, you know, and I'm sure with you guys as well. They have everything, but they don't have the values. They don't have the family. The family is
miserable
apart.
with all this stuff.
They don't. It's like they go work and they go back home and they're like, well, everybody's, you know, sleeping. You know, and when I go to, they're not happy. You know, it's not a fulfilled life. A lot of people can be happy, but I truly think that people have to look for fulfillment. What fulfills you? You know, and that's a huge difference.
As always, this episode is brought to you by Nutritious, convenient optimized superfood nutrition powered by nootropics, designed to elevate your physical and mental performance no matter what life throws at you. Nutritious has been proven to improve cognition, boost memory, and speed up mental and physical processing. Alfie, tell everyone where they can get it.
Yep, head on over to newtup.com to experience these benefits for yourself and live beyond limits today.
I have a little bit of contrasting view, I would say, on this because I think it's it's crucial to like think about, and I've talked about this in depth, is that, you know, money is what you make of it. Money is energy, right? At the end of the day. So like if we put our focus in on money could actually be a really healthy thing, right? And so
I don't think that's what he's saying.
And so but then it becomes this too, is that not many people did what you did and really reconcile with their story, right? And so looking into their past and reconciling with those moments, like I had to do that. And I think then what that led to was presence. And I think presence is really the key to really true fulfillment. There's not ever been one person that I didn't like that you had their presence, right? They looked you in the eyes and they're like, I'm not here, I'm not there, I'm just right here with you, bro. And so like that element of presence, of understanding the presence, that like we have like tomorrow to gain if we're given tomorrow, but like right now is all that I have. And so how am I making the opportunity of like right now the most with that presence? And then it becomes like that presence being the circle of influence that you're surrounded with. And I was talking to my 7-year-old, like I have really like intentional conversations with her.
That's awesome.
And so I pray over that her like every night, is that God start preparing her friends and her future mate like right now. Like I want you to start preparing that now. But like that prayer is embedding that into her head, because I want to have so much presence with her and Melina and Emery, but like specifically that presence is what's going to then ultimately dictate how she's going to choose her circle of friends, right? And that circle then is going to impact what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, right? And so, and another thing is then that circle, I truly believe I'd much rather be fulfilled and rich than fulfilled and poor, right? That's just the reality of life.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean? And so like that level of presence is dictated based on, number one, you, God, right? Focusing on that. But then ultimately of like, I'm going to take care of that, like just with what I have right now, right? And hopefully that turns into, you know, fulfilled and rich rather than fulfilled and poor. You can do a lot more being fulfilled and rich. But it's not
like how many
focus.
how many people can you help if you have like, you know, resources? I don't think it's money in itself is a bad thing, because with more money you can do more good. I think it's love of money, right? It says that in the Bible.
100%.
Obsession.
It's obsession, love. If that's if that's the God you're serving, that's the problem, right? I think that's what you were saying. I don't think
for sure.
Yeah. So it's more like obsession. Anything that is obsessed is out of place.
Yeah,
you know.
that's right.
But I do agree with that. Don't get me wrong. Money is good. You're gonna be able to buy things that makes you feel good, and you're gonna show up. Also, you know, when was the last time that you bought that suit and you're like, it was expensive, but you bought it, and you're like, it feels good. Actually, I'm showing up. You know, my shoulders are a little bit more back. My chest is more back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I agree. Like, I love that you pray, you know, for or with whatever, you know, like with kids. I think it's so important, and I think it's important because not only they're watching, and I always said this, your kids are always watching. I still remember my parents like so many things because I was so observant, but also because you're teaching them the ways and the standards and the values that they should aim for.
That's it.
You know,
we've talked about that like in depth in like past episodes about like that standard. Like I have 2 boys, they're 3, and like they're still young, but I'm like they're always moving, and I'm like I'm always moving, right? And so it's like they want to do what I'm doing. We're always outside, so the standard is we go outside every single day. If it's raining, we're still going outside. Dude.
That's
like
awesome.
we'll find something to do, but that's just like not like what you say, the non-negotiables. We go outside, man. Like we're active people. I don't have a TV that they can watch. Like I have a TV, but it's in my room, and I'd keep it away because like if it was there, they'd want to watch it. But like when it's not there, out of sight, they just want to do like active stuff. So it's like
groceries. If you want to be healthy, if you actually want to get to the next level, but you have a lot of temptations, don't buy it. And this is great for those fitness coaches that are listening right now. And it's a practice that I start doing because I learned from a mentor of mine. At first, you know, the people are going to be motivated. If a client starts to fall out, don't make them go to the supermarket. Have them buy like an Instagram online of just the things that they need. If they're not at the house, they're not going to do it, you know. If you don't buy sweets, they're not going to be at the house. And then have them show you the receipt. Or have somebody go for the groceries.
That's accountability,
you know? That's
for sure.
Huge accountability.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm rereading Atomic Habits right now by James Clear.
That's awesome.
And one of the things that he always says is like, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And so reading, I think, is just a big thing everyone should do. I'm a big believer, this came up in Chris Cavalier, I've read just an insane amount of books, but I go back and I'm like, man, should I have read all those books? Like maybe there's only like 4 or 5 that I should reread.
Well, that's what he
that
said,
really
right?
sit with me, right?
Chris said that,
and that's 100% it. And so like there's a couple books that I'll just reread, but then it becomes like, if you want to read, it's just like groceries, right? You got to put the book by the toilet, right? Because that's when you got time. So if you want to scroll less on Instagram and you want to read more, perfect time, right?
Yeah.
I've been learning Spanish, so I actually did pretty well when I was over in Spain, in Madrid. I would like literally try to talk to everyone. I call myself a taxi cab Spanish, though. I can get through a conversation, but that is something that I do. I'll be like, all right, what's the environment that I'm putting myself in that then I can knock that out for the day, right? So it's like all these systems that we're incorporating in, and you bring up a valuable point. We started ordering stuff online, and we have our groceries sent to us. Which then that impacts, like, when you go into the grocery store, you don't want to pull all these other things that you don't need, right? Just get the stuff that you need. That's all you need.
Make the list, go for it.
Yeah.
Dude, I like what you said there, and I thought about it. I do that with books. Like, I kind of started doing it, not realizing it, but I, like, have strategically placed books.
Yeah.
I have a book in my car. I always have a book in my backpack that I bring with me everywhere. I have a book on my kitchen table, which is where I do, like, some, like, note-taking, and then I have a book by my bed. And, like, I'm reading, like, 4 or 5 books at any given time, like, different ones. One's more, like, you know, Christ-based thinking book. The other one's more, like, fitness book, right? So there's different ones. But I, like, have them in places where I'm, like, that's where I know I'm going to see it. I'm going to read it, right? And I was just the other day, like, thinking about that. I was like, I kind of by accident did that. But it's been, a really good thing for my ADHD brain to, like, kind of have that structure, that routine.
Yeah.
So,
I love the idea, too, that you're tapping into, like, obviously different resources and books, because you sent a few over to me that you're reading. You know, getting nerdy in your long-term memory bank, right, where you hold the hippocampus in the brain. I feel like, and this just, like, fired off as I was, like, as thinking how you do that, because I'm like, oh, that would throw me off a little bit. But, like, if they're different like that, where it's like the spiritual based book, it hits me a little bit differently. Like it like when it fires off, it like more is soul oriented, right? Whereas like I'm not going in necessarily for the purpose to, I am going in to learn more, but I'm like really opening it just because I want to open up my heart and my soul to like what that person has to say, and as like, so it hits a different vibe and like kind of the nature of
And
like how my body operates.
There's different times for different books. Like when it's late at night and I'm getting ready for bed, I really don't want to be like sparking my mind with like a ton of stuff that I'm going to want to take notes on, honestly. That's like my brain's kind of turned off at that point. So like I like a book that's a little bit more like soul enriching and like kind of just like more creative. Even sometimes fiction. Like I like fiction books too. I don't read a ton of them, but
something good before going to bed as well.
For sure.
Your subconscious mind will work, and everything.
Yeah. So just feeding your brain before
I love what you said,
eats.
I was talking with a priest one time, and I was like, I've never read the Bible. I told him, I was like, I read verses, but I've never read it. I was like, how can I do it? Because I never remember. And he said, like, put it under your pillow before you go to bed. Open it and read something. Man, it works better.
Yeah.
It was like so good.
Bible's like the best before bed book, dude.
It's an idea.
There's some cool stories, man. Yeah.
It's
Great
You get
stories.
spiritual downloads.
Let me ask you this, and I love to ask this to people. What's your favorite book ever? Like ever, the one that has changed your life. And I don't mind to start what you guys think. The Go-Giver.
The Go-Giver is a phenomenal book, dude. I love that book. That's a short read. You can grab onto. The Go-Giver is. I mean, that's like that's just life. That's exactly what you're doing and how you're living life. I love the Go-Giver. I would honestly say the book that like changed the trajectory of my life that was like similar to yours when I was in my mid-20s is. There was the Celebrate Recovery Bible. There's this like Bible, but like it was different than any other Bible that I had read.
It's full of stories.
Because it's full of stories.
Yeah.
And it's like more narrative based stories of like that I could relate to. Because it's tough going through like a Bible, even like the NIV or whatever Bible you're going through, even if it's in chronological. I did that one too, but it was I was like, man, I want to put myself in the shoes of David. I want to put my shoes in the self of Solomon, but I'm like, it's tough. Oh yeah, Moses and Joshua. I like, you know what I mean? James is a great book. I'm like, okay, but like at the same time, all these stories that were like appealed to me in a different way, it hit me, and then kind of put in the relevance of like in scriptural terms, and so that one was like that shifted the narrative and like how I think. And then I would say Atomic Habits actually has been a really, really cool book for me too.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, Atomic Habits was a good... I need to reread it because I read that a long time ago, so I'm going to borrow yours when you're done.
Yeah.
I'm rereading Limitless, Jim Quick.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
and
book.
For me, that's a good book because, like, my attention span is, like, 15 minutes, like, where I can, like, focus on a task. And then I have to take a break or else I'm, like, wasting time. So, like, he teaches on, like, that Pomodoro technique of, like, productivity. 20 to 25 minutes tops, hyper-focus on a task, 5-minute reset, movement, break, then 25 minutes again on either the same or a separate task, and you're like structuring. It's time management, which like for ADHD, bro, is like the best thing in the world. Like you got to control that, or else it's distractions. And like, do you remember ever like I've experienced a lot? You're like trying to do something for like hours, and you feel like you get nothing done because you're just distracted by like trying to do 5 different things.
But you get so much done on the other side.
Yeah,
never the task.
Yeah,
yes.
And the term is actually like humans, like literally, we cannot multitask. When you try to go from task to task at the same time, it's task switching, and in that shift, you lose seconds, maybe even minutes of like focus. Yeah. Where like over an hour course, you might have only like really like put like 20 minutes into something, but you spent an hour at it because you're trying to bounce like back and forth between stuff. So it's very inefficient.
I love what you're saying. I have ADHD too, and I actually learned this from Ed Milet. Are you guys familiar with him?
Oh yeah.
He said that he lives 3 days. Okay, and it's so awesome if you think about this. Day 1, 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. Boom. That's when he gets all, like different blocks, different tasks. 12 to 6. Okay, I think that 6 to 12 it was work. 12 to 6 it was more like personal or vice versa.
Yeah.
And then 6 to 12 it was more like family, his time, And that's all he said. Like, well, I only sleep this much, bum bum. And I think that's so awesome because he said by the time that a natural human, like a regular human, lives 1 day, I live 3 days. And I get so much done. It's all about time management, blah, blah. And I love it, man.
That's awesome. It is. Time management's huge, bro. And like, that's something I've been dialing in as well. It's like the first hour of my day, I'm not trying to do, like I used to work out and I felt like it was good, but like, that's when my brain's like the most like apt to remember stuff and its highest functioning. So like personal development or like cognitive tasks, reading, that kind of stuff. So I spend an hour doing that in the morning.
That's huge.
Then I come to work and I treat patients for a few hours, and then I usually get a workout in like around lunch because I've had some food in me, I got some calories, right? So then I'm going to split my day up with a little physical activity. Then I do some more, work in the afternoon, and then I call it by like 6, dude. And usually my brain's kind of like, done with like absorbing. Yeah, I have so many little conversations throughout the day that you kind of get fatigued, yeah.
Which is awesome.
It's been, time management is fantastic. I think for sake of time, we're going to do a part 2 of this episode. So if you've enjoyed this episode, we want you to tune in to part 2, listen to what we got going. There's going to be more good stuff coming.